In the sprawling favelas of Rio de Janeiro, where crime and poverty collide, one police force stands between order and chaos. They wear black uniforms, skull insignias, and are feared by criminals across Brazil. This is BOPE, the Special Police Operations Battalion, and today we're diving deep into one of the world's most intense police units. BOPE, or Batalhão de Operações Policiais Especiais, was created in 1978 in Rio de Janeiro. But what exactly makes them special? Unlike regular police, BOPE is specifically designed for high-risk operations in Rio's favelas, the massive informal settlements that house millions of people. These areas are often controlled by heavily armed drug trafficking organizations, making them some of the most dangerous operational environments in the world. BOPE's mission is threefold: tactical operations against organized crime, hostage rescue and counterterrorism, support for regular police in extreme situations. What sets BOPE apart is their approach. They operate more like a military special forces unit than traditional police. Their symbol, a skull pierced by a knife with a pistol, perfectly captures their intimidating reputation. The motto below it reads, "Faca na caveira," knife in the skull. But you can't just join BOPE. The selection process is notoriously brutal. First, candidates must already be military police officers with at least 3 years of service and no disciplinary issues. Then comes the real test. The BOPE training course lasts approximately 4 months and has a dropout rate of over 50%. Here's what candidates face: physical hell, running up to 15 kilometers in full combat gear, swimming in full uniform, rappelling down buildings and cliffs, hand-to-hand combat training, sleep deprivation exercises, tactical training, urban warfare techniques, close quarters combat, marksmanship under stress, explosive breaching, helicopter operations, psychological testing. Instructors deliberately create high-stress scenarios to see who breaks. They need operators who can make split-second life-or-death decisions while under fire. One of the most infamous parts of training, the knife test, where candidates must demonstrate their knife fighting skills in full-contact sparring. It's as intense as it sounds. Only those who complete everything earn the right to wear the black uniform and skull badge. So what does a BOPE operation actually look like? Imagine this: a favela with narrow alleyways, buildings stacked on top of each other, and lookouts positioned on every corner. Drug traffickers armed with assault rifles, grenades, and sometimes even anti-aircraft weapons. This is BOPE's office. Typical operation: intelligence suggests a major drug lord is hiding in a specific favela. BOPE plans a dawn raid. At 5 a.m., black armored vehicles called caveirões, literally big skulls, roll in. Helicopters circle above. BOPE operators in their black uniforms and ballistic helmets advance in tactical formation. What happens next can vary wildly. Sometimes suspects surrender immediately. BOPE's reputation precedes them. Other times, intense firefights erupt lasting hours. The narrow streets and vertical terrain make every corner potentially lethal. BOPE uses aggressive tactics because they face aggressive threats. Drug traffickers in Rio's favelas aren't petty criminals. They're well-funded, well-armed organizations that control entire neighborhoods. Controversy: BOPE's methods are controversial. Critics argue they're too militarized and that operations sometimes result in civilian casualties. Human rights organizations have documented concerns about excessive force and lack of accountability. Supporters counter that BOPE faces uniquely dangerous circumstances and that their presence has helped reclaim areas previously completely controlled by criminal organizations. The reality is complex. Operating in densely populated areas against heavily armed groups creates impossible situations where every decision can have tragic consequences. BOPE isn't just a police unit, it's become a cultural phenomenon. The 2007 film Elite Squad Tropa de Elite, brought BOPE to international attention. Directed by José Paella and starring Wagner Moura as a BOPE captain, the film showed the brutal reality of operations in Rio's favelas. It became Brazil's biggest box office success and sparked massive debate. The movie's protagonist, Captain Nascimento, became an anti-hero figure, someone who breaks rules but fights for what he believes is right. The sequel, Elite Squad 2, was even more successful and addressed corruption in Rio's police and political system. But here's the interesting part. While filmmakers interviewed real BOPE operators and tried to portray reality, the movies also romanticized aspects of the unit. Some critics argue this glorification is dangerous. In Brazil, BOPE has become a symbol, but what it symbolizes depends on who you ask. To some, they're heroes fighting to protect communities from crime. To others, they represent state violence and militarized policing. To criminals, they're a force to be feared. The skull insignia has become iconic. You'll see it on merchandise, tattoos, and even as a sign of respect or intimidation. So where does BOPE stand today? Rio de Janeiro remains one of the world's most violent cities. Drug trafficking organizations continue to control many favelas, and confrontations between police and criminals are common. Recent developments. In recent years, BOPE has been involved in mega operations, sometimes alongside the military. These operations aim to permanently reclaim territory from criminal organizations. They've also evolved their tactics. More emphasis on intelligence gathering, increased use of technology like drones, better coordination with social programs to maintain peace after operations, specialized training for specific threats like militia groups. The bigger picture. BOPE's existence raises fundamental questions about policing, violence, and society. When does crime become so severe that military-style policing is necessary? Can aggressive tactics ever solve problems rooted in poverty and inequality? How do you balance security with human rights in extreme environments? Brazil has tried various approaches: pacification programs, community policing, aggressive enforcement. Each has had mixed results. BOPE remains a crucial but controversial tool in this ongoing challenge. Other states. BOPE's model has been replicated across Brazil. São Paulo has its own elite unit, as do other major cities. Each adapts the concept to their local reality, but all share the core mission: handling situations too dangerous for regular police. BOPE represents something unique in law enforcement, a police force operating in conditions that resemble low-intensity warfare. Their operators are highly trained professionals facing genuinely dangerous situations. They've helped rescue hostages, arrested major criminals, and supported communities terrorized by violence. But they also operate in a gray area, where police work meets military action, where split-second decisions can mean life or death, and where the line between necessary force and excessive violence isn't always clear. What's undeniable is this: as long as inequality, poverty, and organized crime persist in places like Rio de Janeiro, units like BOPE will exist. Whether they're part of the solution or part of the problem, or both, depends on your perspective and the specific operation in question. One thing is certain: the men and women of BOPE face situations most of us can barely imagine, making decisions most of us will never have to make, in environments most of us will never experience. Love them or criticize them, BOPE is a fascinating lens through which to understand modern urban violence, policing challenges, and the complex social issues facing Brazil and many countries worldwide. What do you think? Is BOPE a necessary force in an extreme situation? Or does their approach create more problems than it solves? Let me know in the comments below.